Oh, I didn't know you were here. In that case, the news not off the presses. Archaeus and Ruffalo, a needed myth, heretofore unavailable. Before the time of the Titans, in an area beyond the Elysian plain, lived a man, Archaeus, who had a talking head he called by the name of Ruffalo. And many people came to view the head and ask it questions, in that it had a reputation for great wisdom. Something that became clear was that Ruffalo would not speak if Archaeus was not present. No one could ever see any physical connection or trickery involved between the man and the talking head, yet it was an inescapable fact that, if he was not there, the head was silent. From this myth emerged the reality of man's current condition of consciousness, with those seeking liberation doing all they can privately and individually to overturn this tale. Those who await useful results from knowledge are as children, not only pretending that there is water in an empty pail, but who expect to catch fish therein. Treating the imaginary with respect, but adds to it. A man went to a doctor and said, "I think I have a virus in my brain. What do you think?" And the physician replied, "Yes, indeed. If you think, you do." And after a few seconds' pause, the man asked, "Did you mean, yes, indeed, if I think I do, I do? Or yes, indeed, if you think, then you perforce do?" And after a few seconds' pause, the doctor replied, "Huh?" Almost every disease on this planet, in some manner, ultimately diagnoses itself, save for one. Mirrors are never aware should they be suffering from mercury poisoning. To reach hormonal maturity in an acceptable fashion within your genetic community is to be ordinary by collective definition. And to be so ordinary is to be also satisfied in a certain manner. Those involved in this sort of activity never realized this state of satisfaction, and indeed have taken up the pursuit of some lesser-known individual version, seemingly apparent and important only to them. No complaints are heard from a graveyard, even one where flowers grow, which still, to a few, provides no proof that the consciousness of zombies is the ultimate mortal benchmark. Everyone's born to a normal 100-mile journey. And for the first 40, you dream of what's up ahead. After that, your thoughts turn to what you've already passed. But with either instance, for those determined to go somewhere unique and exciting, it's all hormonal bullshit. Predictable, yet trampable under superfast neural foot. The true and correct name of all stupidity, futility, and mistaken direction is redundancy. Don't curse sleep, the dark, or captivity, but mere redundancy. For there, if you have one, is your foe and anathema. Is your foe. Well, I quit smoking, so I had to, you get nervous. You have to give in to something. Did I say that? One day a man thought to himself, if I could behave, like a more conscious man, would I then be more conscious? But pretty quickly thought in response, nah, because I'd still know what was going on inside me. One day the priest of buzzards told the birds, if you guys are looking for justice, you should be talking to your intestinal bacteria. Yes, sir, you can count on it. It's always a matter of scale. Unless you're an anorexic elephant. Trying, as men are wont to say, to overcome yourself is like tying knots in your garden hose to stop the fall of rain. How can a man expect to overcome himself if he doesn't actually understand what he refers to when he speaks of his self, and even if it exists, what be its source? Ignore all that balderdash, me hearties, and knock them hoses, for the rain drowns us all. Har, har. Notice, your mind is like a wish-granting genie. Whatever you want, it'll provide. Past a certain something or other, some indistinct combination of place and experienced life, aka time, the continued seeking of knowledge becomes antithetical to being satisfied. Such a thing as this only makes sense to those already weaned of their addiction to knowledge. Headline, another example of one of those little things that the minds of ordinary men care, evidently, not to know. Those who deal in good and evil will finally evil do. One more of those can't be avoided laws. Hogs and slop, slop inside the hogs. There just ain't no getting around it. Title of a course never taught in any seminary or anywhere else. How to pursue a professional religious career and still enjoy a short life. Take your job seriously. Trolls by themselves are enough to drive everyone to distraction, but put them astride griffins and you double the excitement. Known and always available are the means to satisfy all physical hungers, but not so the non-tangible ones. The only way to satisfy the hungers of the mind is to see them for what they are. And of course be able to remember it whenever the hungers pop back up. Well, hey, someone complains, you didn't warn me that it would be a trick success, that the accomplishment required continued attention. Hey, he still bitches. No fair. A man asked a soothsayer, what is the difference in a septic tank with a leak and one that's filled to overflowing? To which the alleged wise one replied by himself asking, what is the distinction between a man with too much knowledge who develops amnesia and a man with much knowledge? What is the distinction between a man with much knowledge who develops amnesia and a man with much knowledge who one day realizes the nature of knowledge? And the man pondered this for a bit, then asked, is this a trick question? I don't know, replied the soothsayer. I don't know. Do you? And suddenly the man couldn't remember whether he did or not. And instantly after that realized that it made no difference. Then understanding that all questions about the differences in things are meaningless. I say it's a good thing that soothsayers don't charge by the pound. Why do we struggle with ourselves? If we are not presently already that which is in control of ourselves, then what is? What new and unusual power over ourselves is it we seek to wield? And in what unknown region within us do we expect to find this force? Fish swim, birds fly, worms dig, men mend. What more is there we expect? Was not thinking integral to men mending, there would not be a sensation of there possibly being more. No non-physical restlessness, no endless anticipation. Thus comes around the original question again. Why do we struggle with ourselves? For what purpose? To what end? When that which is the instigator of the combat is also the sole supplier of all combatants, and whose only possible victory would be in surrender to itself. Little theatrics. After years of hearing sundry, then finally surprising comments on the subject, one man said, "Okay, let me see if I've got this straight. There's no actual difference between those enlightened and those not. It's just that the former enjoy their condition more." Yes, more adventures in the realm of TWT, PBT. Too weird to possibly be true. Yeah. One man so mused, "Our gradual decline into living death is in our not liking this and that." Headline, "The Extreme Shame of the Inner Commentary," a verse. Talking to yourself is doubly pathetic if you've got nothing new to say. One man's approach: whatever thought you're having, have it quickly and immediately forget it. And with every thought you hear from others, do similarly. Hear it quickly and instantly, then forget it. A sidebar to the above story concerns another man, apparently losing much of his trust in words, who, rather than having an approach to things, had an egg instead. Yes, I know what you're thinking. No, I don't. Two ways to try. Either clean house or else live in an expandable one. The true and correct name of being more conscious than you ordinarily are, even if not permanently so, could be accommodating. 'Tis long been claimed that those seeking to be satisfied in that certain way should be without desires. But if this is presently beyond your ability, then do this. Turn all of your desires into just one desire, then write it on a piece of toilet paper and save it for an opportune moment. Yes! A speaker so addressed an assembly gathered for the purpose. I say to those of you who wish to do good for your fellow man, there is but one way, and that is, do not think about your fellow man. Nothing other does the man wishing freedom for himself. Only cows, sheep, and incompleted people have heroes, not real men. Cars are only added to trains, not yet at their destination. Additional info sought only by those not yet finished and free. There was once a universe in which its creator, rather than periodically loosing the plague, instead let rain down upon the still developing proverbs and maxims, which most readily accepted as mental nourishment, which they were able, under present conditions, to construe as an actual form of growth. One alligator cut his eyes toward another alligator next to him and said, "You know you're in for a meatless dry spell when they send philosophers to feed you." It is difficult to say with certainty if that which the few seek actually comes and goes, or whether perhaps it just is, with no movement at all involved, which would account for the problem men profess they have in seeing it. Headline, reminder number 3003, or reminder number 7 brought up for the 429th time, according to how you want to look at it. No matter what the mind is apparently talking about, is always talking about itself. There is a certain creature which, the more you try to tether it, the harder it struggles. There is a certain creature, by some reports, naturally placid, which, the more you try to tether it, the more determined it seems to struggle. Fresh definition. Man's routine mental activity. The continual reproving of an experiment that failed. A certain man went to see the village priest on the weekend when he wasn't on duty, and thus not obliged to mouth the party line, and asked him, "What can be learned from the death of another?" And the temporarily relaxed one gazed off at some clouds and replied, "Take a tuna fish sandwich and go stand next to the body a week after death." The man thought about this, then said, "Perhaps I'll just come see you on Monday," and left. One man once would amuse, if not amaze and impress himself, by doing several things at the same time. As his understanding has changed, his aim now is to do but a single thing, fully focused, single-mindedly, totally attentive. In the lives of men reaching escape velocity, becomes difficult to gauge progress by expressible standards. Gets slippery trying to say what's what in a world where words have lost their illusionary meaning. Thoughts. If thoughts could kill, which they can't, if thoughts could injure, which they can, but only the thinker. Thoughts. A man had a bucket he filled to the top, but still he wouldn't stop. He just kept a filling and a filling. Attention, those seeking to be satisfied, don't let this happen to you. You got to watch it. You got to really be on guard. It'll slip up on you before you know it. It's as natural as rain for a man on a journey to a new territory who has been dreaming and theorizing about the place as he traveled to be in the new area before he's aware of it and continue his needless interactivity related thereto. In a certain sport, the actual winner is he who recognizes when the game is over. You got to watch it. You really got to be on guard, because you can be wet up to your ankles before you're even conscious you're in water. May sound weird to speculative swimmers, but it's true, Elwood. There are two ways to approach the matter of knowing and talking. You can either talk about what you know or talk about what everyone else says they know about. In the latter instance, you'll appear to be quite normal, even perhaps intelligent, while in the former case, you either won't say anything, or if you do, you'll ultimately wish you hadn't. One man says it sometimes appears to him that all the methods commonly used in the attempt to achieve enlightenment are either a matter of overkill or of men going off in the wrong direction. Oh, speaking of approaches to that unconventional goal, there's this other guy who says he's developed a fresh appreciation for the old maxim, count your blessings. On the basis, he says, of it pointing to a useful technique if you cut it down from 3 words to 1. Headline regarding knowing and doing. If you don't already know what you're doing, then being given the knowledge of what you should be doing won't be of any assistance. We take our condemnation of our lapses as meaningful attention to the problem. Another mistake. And now a few words about the late and those who want to be. Posture means the same to a dead man as knowledge does to the satisfied. Headline, more logic for the misdirected. Any concern that must be talked about is meaningless. And all concerns are talked about. Thus, a more conscious man totally wastes his time being concerned about anything. And this includes being enlightened. If you still got a yak about it. But then this one man asked, if you don't say what it is that you've accomplished, how will you ever know that you've accomplished anything? But how do you really know that you've accomplished anything anyway? Never mind. Sorry I asked. End quote. But whoa! Not so fast. Then we have this other guy who kept reminding himself to calm down, for fear that did he not, he might calm down too much. Strange, is it not, how everything seems so connected? Once you get over believing anything is meaningful, or that talk has any significance, or that there actually is such a thing as accomplishment. Yep. Once you get over all of that, seeing all them connections is as easy as shooting thinkers in a barrel. A man of unusual height went to a mystic and asked, "Will being tall help me in my efforts to awaken?" "Yes," replied the knowing one. A man of extraordinarily small stature went to a mystic and asked, "Will being short help me in my efforts to awaken?" "Yes," replied the knowing one. Nothing from something leaves everything. Saying to yourself up when you see down and right when you think it's left will, for those looking for it, force reality right out into the mental open, answering all questions, resolving all problems. Tip for those wanting to travel to the place of final satisfaction. If you're not in neutral, you're going nowhere. If you hear it said that you still don't get it, and you look for the source of the comment, you still don't get it. A mental house, not resting on words, can catch any intruder. And another thing, don't think about what you think. Any comment on the illusionary simply creates additional illusion. Watch it. You can change your outward appearance, but internally you are what you are. And 'tis only those seeking enlightenment who refuse to accept this fact. A maxim concerning several areas of mortal activity simultaneously. Whatever you're planning to do, you're to do it now. More about travel. No matter how many observations, pithy even, you may make regarding the journey, combined in all possible combinations, will never add up to the destination itself. A man with a plan for all occasions is a man with the intent to die. In a land where all are kin and of common kind, what is to be gained by thinking of them as individually unrelated and unique? Yet so do the words men mentally speak to themselves proceed, spreading widely needless confusion and controversy. A certain satisfaction is in seeing life's sameness. You may still look for assistance and salvation, but it's still with you, still in your hands, still in your power, still up to you. And a man said, "It seems to me that much of what this is all about still remains too much a matter of yets and neverthelesses. And even when not that, an overindulgence in silence and motionlessness." Ah, sir. But still. Only those with too few experiences of temporary freedom believe that they're involved in something that's somehow supernatural. Those who finally realize what this is actually all about couldn't feel any more submerged in that which is common, everyday, and natural if they tried. More scenes from that certain metaphorical train trip. When you first leave Paris, you think yourself bound for a mystical Shangri-La. Later, the seasoned traveler begins to conceive of the destination as being the more literal city of Istanbul. The actual end of the journey, however, turns out to be sort of like Paris with an enormous photograph of Istanbul rather haphazardly laid over it. It's easy enough to scoff at the specific changes others may claim that enlightenment will bring, but you are equally as foolish if you believe that it will bring any. Headline, "The Lessons to be Learned." The awakened man learns no lessons, for there are no lessons to be learned. Proverbs update. Repetition killed the cat. Repetition is its own reward. Repetition is believing. Repetition broke the camel's back. God helps those who repeat themselves. Don't put off till tomorrow what you can repeat today. There is safety in repetition. Birds of a feather are repetitious. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with but a single repetition. Repetition is only skin deep. Better be repetitious than sorry. All roads lead to repetition. When the cat's away, the mice become repetitious. The best things in life are repetitious. Whom the gods would destroy, they first make repetitious. One repetition deserves another. Repetition is in the eye of the beholder. A fool and his repetitions are never parted. A repetition is worth 1,000 words. Beware of Greeks bearing repetitions. Repeat and let repeat. Repetition is next to godliness. All things come to he who's repetitive. Those who can do, those who can't repeat. 'Tis an ill repetition that blows no good. Two's company, three's repetitious. Man proposes, repetition disposes. Repetition abhors a vacuum. The first repetition is half the battle. Better the repetition you know than the one you don't. The bigger they are, the more they repeat. Repetition springs eternal in the human breast. What can't be cured must be repeated. A brave man dies but once. A repetitive man, many, many, many times. Repeat and you shall find. Repetition makes the man. Familiarity breeds repetition. All that glitters is not repetitive. 2 repetitions make a right. The saddest words of tongue or pen are those words not repeated again. And finally in the list, repetition is the best policy. And one fine day, Archaeus said to Ruffalo, which one of us is in charge? Yes, with the few, the mind has but one use. As a home for indifference. If you considered another verbal description of what this sort of activity has always been about, that it is seeking a certain kind of satisfaction, usually referred to by a specific name of a state, condition, enlightenment, freedom, liberation, awakening, and that people are involved with a struggle for it, which is what all this news is about that I made up. There's some sort of struggle, people making some effort, me even making an effort to write these things, to stand here and talk about it. But what if this be true? What if what you're seeking, what if this satisfaction does not move? What if it does not come and go? And yet everyone would say that had any experience along these lines that it has come to you before, and then it went away. But what if that is not so? What if it does not come and go? What if it did not come to you some extraordinary state of consciousness? And what if it did not leave? Well, you could ask ordinary people that about ordinary conditions in their life, by the way. At least you think that, I don't want you to misjudge what I'm saying, that it has some extraordinary or some mystical or metaphysical basis for it. I'm just saying point blank the words I'm using. What if such things do not come and go? But what if you ask ordinary people? Or if I ask you and present the question on an ordinary basis? People believe that their luck changes, to make an easy one. That sometimes things go their way and sometimes it does not. Everyone believes that. What if that is not true? Of course, ordinary people immediately say, well, it's got to be so. But if you can use whatever you're currently referring to that as, you should never say that nothing is possible, because it literally, certainly could be possible, that luck does not come and go. I would submit to you, again, an example of the reality of this that usually is easily identified as popping up in men's religions. What is one of the, if not the primary characteristic of all gods everywhere? That he's omnipotent. He takes up, well, usually ordinary man just end up saying that he's everywhere, but he's not necessarily here now. But he can, well, because then you're faced with, you say, well, would you point him out to me? And they go, well, you don't understand. It's always funny for somebody staring into a pit of reflected vipers with lisp to tell you that you don't get it. Or that you say, well, what are you talking about? And they go, you wouldn't understand. Some metaphors are more metaphorical than others. That's what I say. But I was going to point out that the knowledge that things may not come and go is reflected. The reality of it, not men's knowledge of it really, but the reality of it is reflected by men's ideas, again, in religion, of a God, a supreme being. And they always say, if nothing else, they may not agree that he's real good looking or tall and handsome and has a lot of money, but they will always say he's omnipotent. Which means what? He doesn't come and go. If you're omnipotent, where are you going to come and go to? Of course, for those of you with a more direct view of things, I ask you again, in the universe, as I've been asking, where can you hide anything? Where can the universe come and go? Where is bad luck? How does bad luck come upon people and then disappear? Where does it go? Where is good luck? Now you know that ordinarily a mind would attempt to respond to what I just said. They would give you an answer. As though, well, things do come and go, not just luck. They could bring up other things, but I assume you can expand in your own listening what I mean by luck. It seems as though circumstances are favorable in their life, and then they shift. So you would ask a person, you were having a run of good luck. Yes, I was, and it just seemed to have petered out. Yes, it did. Went away. Yes, it did. It's happened before, I guess. Yeah. Sometimes things go good in business, or you could be out playing the wheel at the casino. Be your love life you're referring to. And people say things for a while run favorably, and then, I don't know, it's a streak of bad luck. But if you ask them specifically, if you said, so luck comes and goes, they say, yeah. Good luck comes and goes, bad luck, yeah. And you said, well, where does it go? The mind could weasel out of it if they took it seriously, but I'm asking you to look at the full ramifications behind me right now using luck rather than a more mystical sounding satisfaction or liberation. Where does anything come and go? I mean, if you can use your mind at all, you know that the answer is obvious. Things can't come and go. There's nowhere for them to come and go. If you were of ordinary mind, again, I repeat, you could weasel out of it. I could do it for you. But you could say, well, circumstances change. That's all we mean. Things do not come and go. That is what is represented. I repeat one more time. It is represented. It strikes at the very heart of what the mind is, of what life, of what reality, existence is, of men conjuring up these notions of extra systemic entities, gods, and yet they are, even after you say they're extra systemic, that God would be outside his creation. He couldn't be part of the creation. He's outside it. And yet, all the definitions, the supreme compliments to him, such as being omnipotent. If he's outside the creation, you don't have to say he's omnipotent. What they're actually saying is he fills up all the space. What it's saying is the universe is the universe. The universe doesn't have any secrets. The universe you can't turn to the universe and say, tut, 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 I know what you've been hiding. And they go, uh-oh, you caught me. Even if it wanted to play along. If you're the entirety, you can't hide anything. If you're whole, there are no secrets. Wait a minute, this is sounding suspiciously like that kind of mystical crap having to do with an individual. No, believe me, I'm talking about cosmology. I'm not talking about people. I'm not talking about the mind. They still attribute to this extra-systemic creator attributes, which would have no meaning were he extra-systemic. Because if he was extra-systemic, if he's outside the universe, you can't say whether he's omnipotent. You don't know what's outside the universe, so you can't say, well, he's everywhere. You're going, wait a minute, he's not here. No, he's not. He's outside the universe, right? Well, how do you know he's everywhere outside the universe? It's not even important. Nobody cares. It's a blank question. It's a moot question. The only thing that's important to the mind without them realizing it is they're reflecting the fact that there are no such things as localities. There are no such things as personal, anecdotal front yards. There are no such things as individual examples. There are no hiding places. Well, it's the kind of thing that you either see or you don't see sometimes. And based upon that, you're faced with this, that things do not come and go. They've got nowhere to come from. They've got nowhere to go. Only the mind says that, which should make a person immediately either fall out in a mystical swoon or to be able to turn to yourself fast enough to go wink, 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 hint, hint, hint. Nothing but the mind of man has any notion of things coming and going. But now back to the question. Ordinary people are seeking things, as we all know. If you've got a mind and you're ordinary, you're dissatisfied. You'll be seeking something. Wealth, distraction, to be entertained. And if you're not of ordinary mind, then you get involved with such as this. But where does the payoff of this, even the experience that you may have had, where was it hiding? In the same sense, I ask you, where was an ordinary person's good luck? Where was it hiding suddenly before he starts hitting 21, time after time after time, unbelievably? It's just, whoever heard of such a thing? You cannot. You might beat the dealer 8 or 10 times in a row, might be the record there at that particular casino, but this guy's not only being the dealer, he is being dealt. He's up to 17 times, he's being dealt blackjack face up. It's unbelievable. In the same way that people who are involved with this, they find the state of so-called enlightenment, etc., the first few times, sometimes up to you, to be unbelievable. So it's called metaphysical, mystical, extraordinary. The great struggle, the great work, the great effort, the lifetime endeavor. But I'm simply asking you this. Where was the man's good luck there at the casino? Don't try to play with words or look for some philosophical, speculative response to it, but just suddenly think, there's a guy standing, just an ordinary man, he's standing there at the table, and he takes out money, and he plays blackjack, and for a while he's losing money. Lose a little, and then suddenly he's lucky. 17 hands of blackjack face up in a row. Where did that luck come from? What else are you going to call it? That's the only thing that in English you could call it was luck. Either that or a miracle. But whatever you call it, where was it just a few seconds before his first hand, his first winning hand? Or if you're really hard up for something to do, where was it 4 days before that? Where was it 17 years before that? Where was it at the time of Charlemagne? But to make it somewhat reasonable, is ask yourself, where was it just a few minutes before? Where was that luck? It's ridiculous if you actually have to face it. And it's not just a ridiculous play on words. To believe that things come and go in life is the product of one thing and one thing only, and that's the human mind. It's the human mind. There is no other sensation of things coming and going. There is nothing in the animal kingdom, which you could look at as being man to some degree without the mind. There is no sensation of coming and going. Thus, no sensation of time. There is no It's like consciousness with even the highest primates and mammals, but the sensation is just whatever's in front of them, there it is. Animals don't ever go looking for things that disappear. They don't go looking for the dead. They don't go looking for bad luck. If they go down the field, if a lion does, where he caught gazelles for the last 17 days. 17 trips to this one water hole, and he ate very well each day, even with a complimentary mint provided afterwards. He goes back the 18th day, nothing. Now you know this. You people are as intelligent, and you watch as much National Geographic as any mystic. A lion does not walk down the field and walk up. I mean, sure, he'll gaze around once or twice, but normally they already have cased the field before they walk into view of the camera, if you didn't know that. Lions know. They know if there's anything down that field. So I'm really making this up because they don't want to look ridiculous, even for the sake of being on camera, that their family over here in some American zoo might see them and go, look, that's your Uncle so-and-so over there in Africa. Anyway, the lion has already, he knows it without really doing much of a look, smell and all kinds of other things. The point is, you can't imagine it. He does not walk up and then, if he doesn't see what he's looking for, become perplexed. He does not show any curiosity about they should be here. He just leaves. It is as though his field of consciousness is right wherever it is, and there's nothing outside of it. There is no coming and going. If suddenly a gazelle shows up in his field of vision, a dog even. As much as I hate to use them since they have had the benefit of being prolonged exposed to Homo sapiens, but they're still fairly sane. They're still fairly doggy. But they'll look in a bowl for food, and if none's there, they don't turn around and go like, the world's coming to an end, or they're focused. We're back to the lion. If there's not something in their field of consciousness, that's it. They show no signs of getting involved in a philosophical thought like, they do not look outside, which they can't, but they do not look outside, if you can follow. There's no real way to describe that. Outside their field of consciousness. That doesn't mean they might physically glance around, but they do not look outside, since they can't, but they do not look outside the field of consciousness. Your body does not. Your stomach does not. Your sex organs do not. Your body just as a whole, if you can artificially think of your own examples of dismissing or separating the mind from what's going on, there is no sense of coming and going. It takes a sense of time, at least. But there is no sense that things come and go. They're either there or they're not there. And of course, if you don't have a human mind, you don't even have a name for here and there. But the things are either here and you react to it if it is appropriate to your species and to whatever your particular need is at the time, the same way your body does. But there is no sensation of coming and going. How do you come to be so sure that you would have responded if you were an ordinary mind in my original question when I said, how do you know that such things as a better state of consciousness? Or as I said, you can use anything you want to. I was trying to bring it up to the level that seemed to be more apropos to our topics. But you can take anything in life. Take non-physically, non-survival based, but everything else. Just you feeling happy. If we could actually divorce that from your physical condition. That you just wake up in the morning, and some mornings you just wake up with a smile on your bill, chirping like a little fat robin the first day of spring. Then other mornings, for no other apparent reason, nothing's changed. The next morning you wake up, you feel like you could eat Quasimodo for breakfast. You're as pissed as if you'd been sleeping with a porcupine. And you ask yourself, I'm asking you, how does this happen? And you can say, well, moods come and go. Well, where was your bad mood yesterday? Was it hiding under the bed? Was it in the closet? And it thought, wait tomorrow. I'll let her have one good morning. Then tomorrow she'll feel even worse, as though she'll remember it. How do you know? How does man come to be? Of course, I tell you the answer is the mind. I tell you that so that you won't lose your place. But how can you be convinced? How is it that men are convinced of something that there is no validity to, just on the surface of it? That things come and go, including different states of consciousness, including, well, sometimes I'm a walking, semi-dead man. I'm a zombie. I'm in a catatonic, very limited state of awareness. I am indeed amongst the living dead, mentally speaking. And yet, at other times, I can see clearly. My mind is not clouded. I'm in no great hurry. I feel no great sense of judgment about life. It is indeed the very thing that for which I've been searching all my life. And here it's back. Oh, damn, I'm late. Later, the man realizes that extraordinary state has escaped me again. It went away. Where did it go? Where was it before it came to you? Just between you and me and you, I was going to save this for some audio night, which I guess I'll pick up tomorrow. But consider, what are things that you never question? Unusually clear states of consciousness. The very thing that everyone obviously is struggling for. When it comes, where did it come from? Where did it come from? And when you lose it and you're just back in your ordinary condition, and well, I'll press on. At least I know that I've had it once and maybe it'll come back, or I've had it several times. So I'll keep working and maybe it'll come back. Where is it now? Where is it? Where did it go? You take it either way. Where did it come from to begin with? Of course, normally people just accept it as a miracle. Even if you don't believe in miracles, you just accept it. It's what you've been wanting. It's what you've been looking for. So who's going to question it? If we refer back to another comparative scenario of that within us all, which is saying your stomach, once you throw down something good, like some extremely rich rocky road, your stomach never goes, and then hollers up like, hey, where did you get that? What a surprise. Your sex organs never go, wow, this is extraordinarily pleasing. Where did you find him or her? There's never any question. Only the mind can even conceive of a question of I had something, it came to me, and then it's gone. Don't you find it interesting? You should. That the mind continually thinks that things come and things go, such as a better state of consciousness, and then a lesser state, or an ordinary state. There's no doubt about it. We wouldn't be standing here, I wouldn't be taping this if that weren't true, was it? I don't know. Life is weird. You can do things and you think, why am I doing this? And you think, don't ask me dumb questions. Of course, once you get good, you can strike the modifier dumb. We've already covered the needless requirement for redundancy. Again, didn't we? Did we? Yes. Well, yeah, I know. Yes, we did. Well, until I pick it up when the lights are down lower and the cameras are off, don't you find it at all interesting? Not theoretically, but in a practical way. That you know damn well what I'm saying, or at least it should make you look at it in a certain way. Where does a more awakened state come from? No one questions it when it's there. But where was it? And now that it's gone and you're just back to your ordinary condition, struggling to get it back, where is it right now? Where did it go? I'm asking you to ask yourself personally, inside of you. It's not a theoretical, collective, philosophical question. Where did it come from, or where did it go? Both of them have their own promise. Look at one for a while, and if you chew it up, you can't do anything, look at it the other way. There is no doubt that there is from a mental view, from a human mental view, there is a valid basis for the sensation of movement. But I think most of you, hadn't you been to the movies or seen television? Especially the old kind of movies, but they're still doing it. It's known as the back rear projection. It's when they want to save a few bucks. If somebody's sitting there in a stagecoach or a train and the countryside's going by, you can actually put a camera on a train and put it in motion. If you want and go past the actor's head, they're in front of a window and you see it. And of course, you know the other way is you're in a studio with just a couple of seats out of a train, a piece of the side of a train with a window, and behind it, they're projecting. Or back in the early days of the movies, there was actually a piece of canvas on big rollers, and they had guys mechanically running the passing scene of mountains and trees going past you. And if you didn't know any better, if you weren't even working, anyway, you know that you can look at it and you don't know which is which. Based upon his this little side, something I just thought about that most people don't know, but was based upon his deep study into the workings of Max Sennett that Einstein came up with the basic theory of relativity. Of course, then he transposed it over to elevators going into space, but it's the same damn thing. He never gave Max Sennett not even any credit whatsoever. Now, I understand that it actually broke Fatty Arbuckle's heart, that's part of why he ran amok later. Not only was it obvious he was never going to get even a shared part of a Nobel Prize, but he wasn't even going to get out of jail on bond, so. Maybe that's why Einstein didn't want to fool with those Hollywood people. But I assume you get the point, right? What, are you crazy? There's certainly the sensation of movement. Things seem to come and go. There's certainly a basis for it. But there are at least two immediate explanations for it. Two possibilities. Not just the one that, well, sometimes my moods come on me and sometimes they go. Okay. I know it seems that way, but that's not the only possible explanation. Now, I'm not even saying the other one's the correct one. Well, it's certainly not the conclusive one, but there's another obvious one that no one ever takes into account unless they're playing around with mathematical formulas and physics maybe, and they don't even see the connection. They're not supposed to. But there are two, is what I was hinting about, the rear screen projections and part of the theory of relativity. But there are two immediate explanations. One, never taking into consideration about that which comes and goes in a man's life, his internal life. Well, I'll see you guys on the stagecoach. No. I was thinking instead of Fatty Arbuckle's movie Stagecoach. Well, it was a horrible rear screen effort. Must have been one of the early ones. You realize we have gone from a metaphysical, I thought, lecture into critiques of early John Ford films. I have no idea what would happen after this if we had more tape in the camera. Well, I know what I've had in mind for a long time, I guess I'd finally get to, would be the spiritual importance, not just metaphorical, but the spiritual importance of Ben Turpin. The man knew something. There he was in a cross-eyed world, and everyone else confused, so he went ahead and went. And a few of us suspect he may have seen clearly by so doing. But then again, maybe not. You finally out of film, tape, patience. Turn it off. Did you get it all on? Yeah. Did you? Oh my God. I'm humiliated.